Click it for you. Good. All right, so I'm in the cabinet and it sounds like everybody's music is really weird. But if you don't have cabinet, we're going to do it. So then that will be the volunteer training. This is the long-term engagement fund. So I'll kind of go through this real quickly, but the first step is brand awareness. And that's just like, people recognize our name and our logo. And each team does a really good job that marketing teams and all ages that brand awareness is out there. And then the next step is we're connecting our values and our mission as an organization with cultural enthusiasts, which is a subset of the general public that shares a lot of the values and that connection to cultural and urban areas. And then the next step is actually getting those cultural enthusiasts to step up and take some action, whether that's collect a lot of calls or show up individuals play a critical role in just maintaining just the history of our network, as well as all the super connections. But I would like this one, because let's be real, activism is not like you jump in, it's like this easy, like, oh, I'm now here, what's the problem so quickly? I'm so easy, right? It takes action, it takes effort, it's commitment, more climbing up this ladder, and we need support, the people at the top that's like, reach out and help pull you up, right? And so by the time you get to that top, you have like a really good view of the layout of the subscriber landscape. How your local efforts on the ground really play into that bigger, larger.
These emerging trends in the volunteer landscape, and this is not just Surfrider, this is like throughout the US. Training always has and always will be very critical to our work, is making sure the people that show up get the training and support they need. Volunteers, a lot of them want something new. So for example, a lot of times I see chapters advertise, hey, we need somebody with financial experience to be our treasurer. But you know what? It sounds like a lot of people who are finance people in their day jobs, surprise, don't want to do that in their free time. And so maybe we should consider how we advertise those positions to be like, want to be a treasurer? We're going to teach you this new skill if that's what you want to learn, right? Over 2/3 of volunteers find opportunities by sticking it in their Google. And the reason that is important is all of you chapters are amazing at social media, way better than I am. I wish I could hire you to do my social media, but a Facebook post and an Instagram post are not going to come up in a Google search. So you are missing out on 2/3 of people that are just like, you know, I feel like doing good today. And I can speak to experience in the Olympia chapter. I will randomly just like throw things on the website, and we have new people that show up that just Googled it and found it on our website and had no idea about our social media channels. So just something to keep in mind. And so, but while people are Googling things to just figure out what's out there and available, in order to step up and activate them into especially leadership roles, that personal ask is critical. People are waiting for a personal invitation. We all kind of fall victim to this like bystander effect where you send out that email, it's like, we need help. And people are like, somebody will help them. The world's full of good people, right? So making that direct ask is up to 34 times more likely to be successful than like just blasting it out, please help us. So just keep that in mind. Also, people who make the asks significantly underestimate how valuable and successful those personal asks are, and they significantly overestimate how effective text messages and emails and things are. So the science shows people just need like that direct ask. Virtual volunteering is here to stay, and there are a lot of roles that your chapters have that can be done remotely. Writing newsletters, posting on social media, grant stuff. There's like a lot of fundraising can happen virtually. So it's important to keep those options open to your remote, like volunteers that are either more rural or they're just super busy or they have a crazy work schedule or whatever. But what keeps people coming back, and I think we all know this, is that authentic human connection. And research shows that human connection means hearing human voices, ideally in person, but a phone call is also pretty helpful for that. So any sort of passive written connection is just not going to fill that emotional void of living in, you know, the pandemic world of like, oh, I'm disconnected from the world. The other thing that we've noticed is that people want more flexibility and shorter commitments. That's one thing we see a lot of is like, I just can't commit to all of that right now. And so maybe it's on us to figure out, you know, how to rearrange the roles and the commitments that we are asking of our volunteers to accommodate that. And on average, volunteers in the US donate 50 hours a year. So next poll, phones ready. How many hours a month do y'all think you volunteer? Give it your best estimate. I know it changes. And we'll have to do the math in our heads. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Going up, going up. This is so suspenseful. All right, it looks like 10 to 20 hours is gonna be the leader. So that is, do the math, I can't in my head, over 200 hours a year. So y'all are just overachieving and incredible and amazing. And it fills me with feels in my cold, dead, not blue heart all the time. So you guys are killing it. You're way above average in the amount of Testing. All right. Is everybody close to done? All right. Cool. Thank you all for participating in our first of many activities. So we're going to do a quick run through of what you guys said to kind of try to summarize it quickly. And then we're going to transition into me talking more. Yay, lucky you. So am I coming in? Cool. All right. So for the recruitment piece, you guys sort of ranked across the board. So we have a lot of you kind of midway and above and a few of you lingering behind. And so some of the things that you're doing well, which I completely agree with, is social media and cleanups, whether butt pickups or beach cleanups. And that's something you guys excel at. So I'm glad you recognize that you're great at that. Things you want to improve on is following up with those attendees, right? Personal reach outs, communication, especially digital. Somebody said start using Golden, which I couldn't agree more. And I want to point out that some of this digital communication Golden piece should, once it's fully in place and rolled out, that will help you with the following up with attendees piece. So these two are very closely related. And so that's kind of handy. That actually makes me pretty stoked. And that's what you said you wish you were doing. For things you need to stop doing, too many actions at low capacity. How familiar does that sound? That's like my entire life right now, personal life included. Stop relying on people to show up for virtual opportunities, especially in the summer, is not a bad comment. And a lot of tasks are big and they require big roles to fill in order to address. And so that's something that maybe we can think of a way to like break that down into smaller commitments, right? Like we talked about. For the retaining and training piece, again, pretty widespread. So Coos Bay seems to be feeling really good about their training and retaining versus Olympia and Portland over here, and then South Sound and Bellingham sort of in the middle. So things you guys are doing well. Fun retreats, predictable programming, having good standard operating procedures are all great practices. Annual planning retreats, things like this. Things you wish you were doing. More standard operating procedures, right? Making that training easy and accessible for your volunteers. It's all about removing barriers. More in-person training and shadowing, mentoring. That's a great comment to make. Asking for help. Love it. Please ask us and each other as chapters to help. Training checklist for volunteer roles. Transitioning projects and positions. Again, the transition piece, and that kind of plays into that legacy component that we're not going to get too deep into today, but that is a very critical aspect of our work. Things you need to stop doing, micromanaging. So maybe there's somebody in that chapter that's like pretty gold and really loves rules and structure and gets really upset when the plan changes, right? That's just like kind of how they're built, and that's fine. Those people can be amazing assets, but if you recognize that like these are the things that drive them crazy and how they respond to that uncertainty might be micromanaging or some other way. Like we all have different ways of manifesting stress during times of uncertainty. So it's really good to kind of pay attention to like, why are these behaviors manifesting themselves and what can we do as a group to address it in a positive and constructive way? So love it. And doing everything with too few people. Again, take on fewer tasks. It's okay to stop doing some of the stuff you guys do if that's what's going to keep you from burning out. All right. Rule number one is like put on your oxygen mask first. So I love that you guys are acknowledging that maybe you're trying to do too much with the capacity that is low across the board in Surfrider and beyond. All right. And finally, y'all are pretty good at rewarding, and I have no surprise about that. Thank yous in your newsletters, opportunities to go outdoors with you guys, raffle prizes, thank you notes, swag, community building, concert tickets, all sorts of ways that you guys are doing a great job recognizing and rewarding your volunteers. Things you wish you were doing, better pre-planning for your chapter meetings, more thank yous, more social media shout outs and fun rewarding activities, a chapter retreat, more raffles, volunteer accomplishment badges, love it. Partner sponsorship for active membership gifts. So a lot of great ideas of things that you guys know are going to be valuable and maybe just haven't either made the time or have the capacity to really roll out. The things to stop doing: volunteer tracking, metrics for awards. I don't know why you would, who's going to stop doing that? Who's doing that and doesn't want to do it anymore? Oh, you're failing. Sorry, I forgot that part. I'm like, don't stop that. That's really important. Only doing work, needing more fun. We are such a fun organization. I've volunteered and worked for so many other organizations. This is the most fun. And I'm not just saying that because it's literally written into our freaking mission statement. It's protect and enjoy. And I think that is clutch and what makes Surfrider above the rest as far as how much fun we are capable of having together. And yeah, so continuing to track, again, golden digital transformation tools. Hopefully this will all help you and remove those challenges to doing that kind of important recruiting, retracking, and rewarding work. All right. Moving right along. It's not working, Bree. Help me. Hey girl, you guys really rock that flip chart. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. Do I have control? I love it. All right. So some of the top 3 reasons we see why volunteers don't return are having a disorganized experience and a lack of follow through. I think that probably resonates with a lot of us, myself included especially. Training and retaining, confusion over the responsibilities of the volunteer role and lack of training. And I know that like we're all just like, let's just do whatever we can. And there's a lot of flexibility within our EC roles, but it never hurts to sort of get back to that originally outlined plan of like, this is what you should all be doing to help clarify some of those roles, because it does get a little confused sometimes. Like Christine is all of the chapter almost right now. She does them all. And reward, failure to recognize impacts or value. And I know we all feel very appreciative of our volunteers, but it takes time to tell them that and reward them. So show some slug love to it. Do it right now. I don't care. Write it while I'm talking. And just recognize the impacts. And again, make sure you're prepared to engage and manage volunteers. We're not going to go into this a lot today, but a lot of chapters will fall into the trap of just trying to recruit, and they don't have a good system in place to train and retain them. And that's how you get this like constant just grind of like new people coming and going. And so we don't want you guys to get trapped in that sort of cycle. That's backwards. All right, so we're going to go through some BPs and BCs. The biggest challenges: infrequent or inconsistent communication. This is a quote I got. I contacted the chapter a week ago with no response. So I'm assuming they're not very active or non-existent. This chapter kicks ass, all right? This chapter is so active. They just didn't check their email. And I get it. I'm drowning in email just like the rest of us, but it's incredibly important that we continue to respond to volunteers when they reach out to us in a timely manner. And we can talk later about some of the ways we can help you guys do that. Limited channels equals a limited audience. This is a whole presentation in and of itself. Like this diversity journey that we're on, trying to reach out and reach new people in our communities is a much bigger conversation, but it's good to recognize that the more diverse methods you use to communicate with your network, the more diverse audience you are going to reach. So if you are contacting your network through Facebook, Instagram, and newsletter, you are contacting people that you have already contacted. And we find ourselves sort of preaching to the choir a lot. So take one thing you can do different every now and then. Obviously, I don't want you to like overhaul your systems and like put more on you, but just pick one simple thing and be like, let's just try this. Let's go on the radio for once. Let's put up some flyers over here and just see if that helps you bring in a few new people every time. All right, more. Bust out your phones. This is like anti-public school. Bring your phones out, kids. I want to see you on your phones right now. So what do you think is the biggest challenge for recruitment right now? Zoom type. We're going to have a couple Slido questions, and then we're going to have some space for just open discussion because we want to hear what y'all have to say. Oh my God, who has access to my inner voice? Who did that? Which one of you is a mind reader? People are busy. Low capacity, which is why you need recruitment. It's the trap. It's the churn. You run out of capacity to recruit new capacity. Burnout. Surfer. Surfers prioritizing surfing, having a solid foundation of what volunteer opportunities are available to them. Glad somebody said that. Keep that in mind. A lack of volunteer opportunities. Fear of inviting people into the burnout bonanza. That's a new one. That's some good insight. Too busy on weekends. Time commitment. We're not inviting them. We're just spraying and praying. Love that. Gold star to whoever said that. Sounds like another job. People like the fun. All right. All right. Continued involvement. Does everybody feel like their voices were heard up here?
It's really good. I can send it to you. Send them a copy. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I put them somewhere back there. Oh, okay. Sorry, Zoom. Everyone on Zoom. Okay. So, while we try to find those batteries, so something that I see with chapters is like people not being sure where to send volunteers. Like, do you have a system? Like, does everyone go to volunteer coordinator, or if I'm the beach cleanup coordinator and someone asks me about Blue Water Task Force, do I just pass, like, say, go talk to this person and email this person? Like, do you actually have a system and that you've all agreed to and know and understand for when a volunteer is saying, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z? Nancy?
Your idea, the last chapter meeting with the paper to sign up, that we should keep doing that. Yeah.
Someone say, "Oh, I come to your event, but I'm not a member." Has that ever happened to you? I'd come to your meeting, but I'm not a member. Oh. I get that one a lot.
It's working. I was just holding it up to you. Is it not working? Oh, great. Fantastic. All right. Thank you. We're going to go into the next BCs and BPs, if you will. All right. Training and retaining. So some of the occupy as volunteers, managing other volunteers. And so it gets a little, it's like, you should do this, because you're also volunteers. So the best practice is just offering regular core trainings and specific programmatic training. So for example, the Blue Water Task Force training that Christine was going to provide, Bob McGill. Another big challenge in a period of uncertainty when you first ask, and then maybe later, if you ask again, they're in, a different situation in life and are more capable of and they're in a position they can step up again. And finally, checking in regularly. And this is hard. This takes time. And it also means you have to track who you are checking in with and how often you are checking in with them, right? And it's really great. I know somebody wrote mentoring, designating mentors or shadowing, signing people up. So it's just like that one-to-one experience. And so it removes that ambiguity of who should I be talking to? Because you just have that point person. You can just ask those quick questions to. All right, pull out your phones. Do you, as a chapter, offer volunteer trainings? What's going on Instagram right now? How are we on time? Oh, we got so much time. We got all the time in the world. Perfect. All right. Are we good? I'm going to assume we're good. Most of you do not. So roughly almost 2/3 of you guys do not offer volunteer training. So that is something that us as regional managers would love to facilitate for you. So if you think that a statewide or regional core training is something your network would like, I would love nothing more than to make your lives easier and provide that for you. If that's something you think your network would engage in. Obviously, it would probably be virtual, or maybe not, I don't know. Or I'll come to your chapter and lead a training, or I'll make you a PowerPoint that I can just hand to you to do a training. So just let us know what resources we can provide that makes it easy for you guys to provide that training. And come to us and tell us, this is what we're not comfortable with, and we will find solutions for you. Discussion. Oh God, I keep doing this on my computer. All right. Next question. What does your chapter do to follow up with new recruits or recently trained volunteers? Does anybody want to offer up what they think works? Or we had a great example of what might not work so well. Anybody? Throwing them to the wolves. I will be putting that into a meme in my next volunteer recruitment presentation. Does anybody else feel like that resonates with them as far as how they treat their new recruits? Is it a wolf feeding scenario? Or the deep end of the pool, the gator pit. I'm from Florida. Yes.
Like I'm thinking of the Blue Water Task Force volunteers that I have. Like that feels like a lot more like, okay, I have you. We have a task every month. I have a communication plan. So like kind of that one person connection. Whereas like I'm thinking of our beach cleanup volunteers where it's kind of like, ah. And then like, but being like, hey, you have your like specific lists and maybe more regular communication specifically about a specific thing could be an opportunity to like.
I love it. So hypothetically speaking, if you were to advertise these different volunteer roles with Golden and then quickly pull those lists of people who are actually showing up at your events and communicating with them afterwards, you did this thing. This was the impact. Please come again. Here's some trainings we can offer if you want to level up your engagement. Right? So again, it's all about having systems. And I like what you said about how the Blue Water Task Force is like, we have this specific, very well, like clear role expectations and communication strategy and a plan. And that's probably pretty effective, right? Because you guys have a pretty strong Blue Water Task Force program. So very good point. Yes.
I guess one other thing, so I feel like with our cleanups and stuff, we do a really good job of like connecting people, but just to add like maybe another hiccup, like we have a storage unit, and so there's a lot of times like people want to get involved, but then it's like there's the logistics to train them and get them, like there's just a lot of logistics that then need to happen, so sometimes that's where things can get lost with volunteers too.
Love it. Just logistics. Does anybody else have that problem too with like, Ed knows this problem. Who has the keys to the storage unit? Who has bolt cutters? Next question. Combo. Well, we're not allowed to have one at that storage unit. It's really annoying. But that is a really good point too. Logistics can be very challenging, especially in big cities, because of traffic and just how dense it is and all that. And in rural communities where you might just have to drive 100 miles to get to an event because you live out in the sticks, you know? So different logistical problems. So we should discuss that in some more private discussions because I don't know. Yeah.
Also, how a combination lock works.
If you forget how a combo lock works. We will add that to our resources on how to use the volunteer training. This is a combination lock. I love that. I would honestly probably struggle. I haven't used one since high school. Anybody else want to share how they follow up with their new recruits? Ooh, I love it. Having a party. South Sound knows how to rage. No, I'm just kidding. Having a party is a great way to follow up with your volunteers. I love it. I love it. All right, let's see where we are next. Ah, my favorite part. Great segue. She's not a plant, I swear, but she'd be a good one. All right, so final BC and BP slide. I'm sorry for all the text. These are really boring, but biggest challenges. How do you keep your volunteers to keep coming back? Well, one of the ways is you got to track them to know who is and is not coming back. Like, do you even have a problem? I don't know. There's a lot of volunteers out there and I'm bad at names and faces. I'm like face blind. All right. So the best thing is to offer incentives. So there's a couple of reasons people show up to do things. We all have different reasons. Obviously the sense of community, I think, is something that we all share. And it is a consistency among our network. But there's a couple of different value systems that, you know, are incentivizing people. So a lot of the internal sense of community, the idea of contributing to something bigger and having that impact, personal growth, right? These are all very intrinsic things that are like very personal often. There's also external things, swag, sand towels, snacks. Pizza is a universal currency. Recognition, have a gold star, right? Like keep coming back, have your gold stars. Simple recognition, share some slug love. I haven't seen any slug love being shared in the last 5 minutes. And professional development. So maybe you have, you know, retired guy who's like, yeah, I worked for a horrible Wall Street bank and I feel really guilty and I just want to give back to the world and do something good, right? Or you have a college student who's like, or a high school student's like, I need something on my college resume, or I need this experience organizing or dealing with budgets or whatever. So there's a lot of different reasons people show up. And so it's great to just talk to them, figure out what they are, and try to give it to them, right? Celebrating successes, big and small, right? Even small successes, like 3 new faces showing up at your meeting, like high five that crap. Like that is awesome, especially these days, right? And I think this is something that I know I always like, I'm so super go, go, go. And I know a lot of you are too, where it's just like, we did a good thing. High five, on to the next. And you're like, no, stop and just like enjoy it, right? Spend time celebrating those victories, whether they're coastal victories or like, hey, we got 50 pounds of trash off this beach. That was great. And connecting chapter operations to the greater impact on our mission. And I hear this a lot too, where it's just like, that kind of almost pushback is like, oh, stop using single-use water bottles. What does it matter? Like, that's not going to save the world, but like, if hundreds of millions of people across the country stop using them, like that's hundreds of millions of pounds of waste, right? So these little actions do add up, but it's so easy for all of us to just get disheartened and apathetic because you're like, this little bit doesn't matter, but it really does. And that is like the collective wave of Surfriders activism that does build into this rising sea of just passionate impact, right, that we have collectively. So that's partly on us to help connect you guys to the greater mission. So the town halls that Chad gives and the visualizations that our amazing like marketing team and stuff develop to try to connect all of you guys on the ground to that bigger picture is an essential part that we have to play. And if you have any ideas about how we can do that even better, please share them with us. And then don't be afraid to like practice talking about that with your volunteers and always draw it to the bigger picture because that's what keeps me coming back a lot of times and a lot of other people as well, is impact. All right. Final set of questions. This is not the right one. What do you reward your volunteers with and celebrate your successes? Oh, what do you do? Sorry, I didn't read that. What do you do to reward your volunteers and celebrate your successes? Please note that our CEO, Chad, is here today. So if there's anything that Jess would not approve, just kidding. Beer and pizza, the universal currency. Lots of swag, smiles and photo ops, shout outs and chapter meetings, going boating, love boating, shout outs, Instagram posts, thanking them, communicating their value, swag and food for life. Keep typing, keep it coming, love it. I know who wrote that. Local businesses donating small gift cards and stickers and Instagram shout outs. It's nice. It's part of that community, right? More people are typing. Everybody take a deep breath. Recognition at annual events. I like quantity of memories personally over quality memories, but each to their own. I hope we've all made some quality memories already on this trip. I know I have. Whether you would rank them as good or bad. Gold stars! Yes! Love it. Who doesn't love? And they are starfish, gold starfish. Sea star, whatever. I'm old. Sea stars. They're not fish, but they're not stars either. All right, we're gonna let that one person finish typing, but we have. It will. Oh no, then I want it. I want to hear. I want to hear it. Recognize. All right. Cool. One, recognize them during meetings. This is all great. I love it. Taking notes. And then, how do you want Surfrider to show you appreciation? So you've just given us all these great things that you do for your volunteers, but what can we do better to let you know we appreciate you?
And just so you know, this is all going to be captured and we'll download it and put it in the notes, everything that you're contributing. So everything's going to go onto that Notion page along with the recording, all the resources.
It'll be forever preserved on the internet. So like, don't hold back. Volunteer spotlights. I love those. A simple thank you. Whoever wrote that is far less consumerist than I am. I'm like, I need swag. More quality hangs. Oh, guys. Shout outs and opportunities for more involvement with HQ on global strategy. Ooh, getting big. Annual retreats. Nobody else? Everybody else? That's it? All right, so I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. Oh, I didn't see. Just a thank you will suffice. You guys are just so humble. Membership renewals. Oh yeah, that's. Encourage us to do advocacy training. Just I'll nag you, Mike. Don't worry. Cool to be a resource to them about bigger Surfrider decisions. All right. I'm on board with that. We got more. We should have had some like background music playing. Yeah, you can. All right. These are anonymous. But we know who's typing on their phones. So all of you should be texting your friends right now. I'm always just pushing you past your comfort zones, which are expanded through discomfort. Swag and snacks and gold stars and one-on-one brewskis. I can do that more. I can do more one-on-one brewskis. All right, did everybody feel heard? Gonna move on. This is just a random slide. Oh God, this is not tiny brain. All right. I was informed by one of our Canada chapters that it's Smurf with a U. So spelling is not my forte, but I just also I wanted to put snorks up. Do you guys remember snorks? They were like Smurfs, but they had snorkels. They were underwater snorks. Gus's of my generation. All right, cool. Check out snorks. Anyway, so this is just an acronym because I'm a scientist and we love acronyms, but just something to keep in mind about everything you guys do. And this applies to yourselves as well as the volunteers you manage. So try to keep it simple. It's all about removing barriers. And this is as much on us as y'all for sure, but make it easy for people to step up and take action because we are all so busy all the time. And the easier it is, the more likely we are to do it, right? So setting up systems, using digital transformation tools, using Golden, using email templates, whatever it is, I'm all about good systems. So you can just set it and forget it. Make it meaningful. Again, just understand people's stories, where they're coming from, and try to give it back to them. You know, recognize their values and incentives. Are they gold? Are they blue? I don't know, but give them what they want. Gold, they want structure. Help them finish tasks. Don't deviate from the plan. Blue, just give them a big hug and a thank you. Tell them they're doing great. You're doing great, Christine. Being inclusive, this is a much bigger conversation, but diversity is beautiful. Enjoy the ongoing journey of making our communities and our organization more inclusive and safe for everybody, right? Rewarding. I think you guys got the rewarding down pretty good, but you can never over reward us, right? So understanding their interests and incentives and deliver on them pizza and beer. And then fun. Again, protection and enjoyment. It's what sets us above all the other organizations, in my opinion. All right. Final discussion question. Knowing what you now know, what can we at Surfrider do to support you? And we don't have to talk about it now if you don't want to, but we want to hear as much of this can from you while we have you in this space together. So if you have things you want to share now, or you want to just come up to us later, please let us know what resources, what trainings, what things we can do to support you, because you are Surfrider. Like, you make this happen. So I think that's, so yes, Stina.
Something cooler that's like, I feel like chapter meeting, like Marty was like, oh, but I'm not a, or somebody was like, I'm not a member, so can I even come to this meeting? And like, or it just sounds so like
Very bland. Come to our chapter meeting and read our notes. Does anybody have a sexier name? Shindig?
No, I don't have a, I just.
Oh, yeah. A Surfrider social? Does anybody else have sexy names, preferably with an alliteration? Because I love alliterations like Surfrider social. Who doesn't? All right, all right. I like that. Anything else you guys want to throw out while we're chatting? We do have some other activities we can do, or if you guys want to chat. No?
Just a reminder that we do have more resources, like money resources for training that was for this conference. So if you do think it'd be helpful to like have us like co-design a specific training like for you all with like people who their focus is volunteer management. There's an organization based in Oregon that we could work with. Like if it is digital tools, maybe we can talk to HQ about like some Canva templates. Liz already created the beautiful menu. Like sky is the limit, kind of.
Ed would like to speak. Oh, Jen would like to speak.
I'll just jump in front of that. Well, with all this appreciation, it occurred to me that in my rush to not go over my time earlier, I did not say as a meaningful and sincere a thank you to everyone who participated in my spontaneous exercise earlier. So thank you all for doing that.
What I wanted to say was great presentation. Liz and Bree did a really nice job. Something you've heard us say about our strategic plan, we have it outlined, at least a big investment for better onboarding and resources for our volunteers. So that is something we're going to look at investing in more. And there are a host of resources on ChapterNet now. If you go under the training tab, everything's from roles and responsibilities, recruitment, and something I've noticed just, and this is the second conference I've been to this year, that seems to be coming up, and it came up in Hawaii. It seems like that we've shifted away at Surfrider a little bit, and that's, onus on me, away from some just basic organizing principles that we work so hard to instill early on in our network, which was volunteer recruitment, campaign planning, all things that tie together. And I think that's something, we'll see how the rest goes, but that could be something that we need to do more of again, I think, coming up with this, because that's what I'm hearing here too. It's like, this was just basic, like recruitment principles. And chapter conferences were all about recruitment and campaign planning all tied together. And I can't think of the last time we actually did that. In California, we had 110 people. We didn't even talk about volunteer recruitment at all, but the last two conferences it's come up. So I'm seeing that as a trend that we kind of maybe took it for granted, that was just instilled in our network at this point, how you do it. Even something as simple as the chapter resource book has a ton of stuff on it, which you can get off ChapterNet too, on recruitment, retention, leadership transition. It needs to be digitized. It's older. We even had a volunteer menu book 10 years ago. It's the same thing. So I'm seeing that, I think as an organization, that's something that one, we've acknowledged that we're going to make an investment more in it, so it's easier to learn too and come on board with Surfrider. But it is something I think that it seems like we just have to have some basic ongoing training that just reminds people, especially as they come in. So that's all I wanted to say.
Ed, you reminded me, I think maybe like help with campaigns, because I know that's something our chapter has had an issue. Like, I think we're kind of on the Snake River Dam thing, which I think is kind of not as surf ridery as maybe it's supposed to be, but that's like what our group is passionate about. So that's kind of the wave we're currently riding. But I think like having some like really guided campaign like energy or training or encouragement or ideas, or like just how do we get a campaign again? Because I think when we had the bag ban, like that was a really fun, like we were like, you know, world record for most reusable bags. Like there was just like really cool, clever campaign things that were leading, or events to like help meet that campaign that I think we've kind of been missing over the last couple of years. And I think COVID's also been an issue, but like I think the energizing of like having an issue that then draws in new people that is like, oh, I want to help like make this actual change happen, versus like, hey, collect data for beach cleanups. Like there's kind of that ambiguous, like we're not working towards a thing. So help us.
I love that you plugged the value of a campaign as a recruitment tool, because you're rallying people behind a thing and then you get to be like victory, and it's awesome. So thank you for that, Stina. And we were going to do more campaign planning at this conference, but then we realized that y'all don't have a lot of capacity and we don't want to put more on you. So we thought we'd focus on rebuilding that capacity. So when those campaigns happen, you can just kill it.
I don't know if this would be a good strategy or not, but we used to do like regular core volunteer trainings once every couple months. But right now, like, I don't know if our chapter has the capacity to do that again, but I'm almost wondering like maybe if it was just like a virtual thing and it was like any volunteer joining from any chapter in Oregon, here's a standing monthly, like half an hour intro to surf rider training. And it could be like something that, you know, local people could join in on, but it could be sort of a more general surf rider training. I don't know, sort of a version of a core volunteer training, but like for any chapter.
Yeah, I'll just add that when Portland was doing those core trainings, because they didn't know like, you know, how many people were going to show up or if people were going to show up, they'd have program leads like contribute an activity that people could do, or like if there weren't a lot of volunteers that showed up or no one did, then the execs used it as like a work session to get work done. But exploring what that looks like in a virtual space is something we can totally do.
In terms of support for me, one of the things that I think our chapter and most chapters struggle with is just general capacity. And I'm wondering if there is any way that Surfrider could team up with some group that would provide internships. So we had a point person working on things on a more regular basis, as opposed to our volunteers who are doing it off the clock and in their spare time. So when you get these emails, someone is actually able to help direct it to those people and maybe follow up with the leads on certain programs or campaigns, and support our field managers for more of a local on-site help. I'm thinking like AmeriCorps. I'm not sure how this would look, but for me, it's like capacity in general. And if there's somebody a little bit more dedicated in terms of time on a regular basis, it would be super, super advantageous. But I realize that's a big ask.
So what you need is a full-time volunteer coordinator, which I feel like is true of every chapter.
Some kind of internship that allowed for some professional development on a larger scale for, you know, maybe a college student that wanted to gain experience with nonprofits, but was able to work with something that they're passionate about and support local volunteers at the same time. It would be a match that would really help all of us locally, and I think the chapter as a whole.
Ryan or Ed. Well, let's see. So Coos Bay's club is fifth graders, so I'm not sure. There's a high school club. I'll just say that because of good employment laws, internships are a little tough for us. Do you want to add
Well, it's not just Surfrider. It's just, if you, read over the years in papers, how basically how a lot of companies and corporations just looked at internships as free labor. Well, now I think it's federal law as well, but definitely state laws. You have a very strict criteria of what meets an internship. It can be purely academic, which in like this case, it's not really academic. Just set up, oh, we need someone to help us with volunteers, and Streamline's got to be tied to a project, or you have to pay them, or it's a paid internship. And that stuff's on ChapterNet. It lays out what that criteria is. So internships are definitely viable, and Surfrider headquarters uses a lot of interns as well, especially on our legal associates. So it can be done. It just you just have to, it's project based a lot of times, but I wrote that in our notes to look at if there's a way, and I talked to Ryan more, because obviously, where the club is a great opportunity and a feeder system too, which we're already seeing a lot of club volunteers then graduate and are sitting in this room in a couple of years as the chair or whatever. That's happening now. So.
And one thing to sort of add to like kind of the volunteer menu piece is if you have like a project wish list kind of handy, because I see a lot of students reach out to chapters. They don't want a full internship necessarily, but they want to have like a project. And so if you have something sort of like a packaged thing, be like, we want to do this, we don't have the capacity, this is now yours, and give them that opportunity. It's kind of an option to, unless that's not allowed. I don't know.
Do high school kids in Oregon and Washington need community service hours to graduate? Because that's something else we are capable of handing out. That could be one possibility.
So just a couple things, and sorry if Liz already said this because I was multitasking, which is bad. Liz and I did a lot of research for this session and talked to a lot of our partners, and the capacity and recruitment challenges are not a Surfrider thing. It is a volunteer organization thing. So it's kind of like you're not alone, but also it's tough for everyone. So it's not something that our chapters are doing. We're all kind of collectively feeling this, and also we're working with other organizations and talking to them about ideas and sharing what's working, what's not working. And then also there's going to be a digital transformation presentation next, and we're still fully exploring all of the tools that are available within these new digital tools. And so the volunteer management piece of that, we're still kind of learning and exploring, but there are some really cool options for tracking participation, sharing notes about volunteer interests, that kind of stuff. You're not going to hear about it now because we're still figuring it out, but you are going to hear about it soon.
On that one poll where you guys all, how are you promoting the events? That's fine. You should be promoting them on social media like that. You just put them on Golden and then just link it. So that's how it should work, because that's how you're tracking that. So it's fine to promote it like that. That's Golden in itself doesn't just promote it. You'd have to go to the Golden website. You have to you put the event through your Golden thing and then promote that event for your channels. So all of that is great. You're using Facebook and Instagram on your website. Still do that. Just create the event.
Yeah, and the great thing, like Christine was saying with the email templates, you guys are always doing new things. If you plug in your chapter's volunteer menu, because you can pull that link out in Golden and it'll automatically display everything your chapter is doing. So as long as that's updated, you can just copy that link and leave it in that email template. So anytime somebody asks you, it's already here's all of our events, and you don't have to type them all out and be like, what date is that? Yes.
You're saying I can't search for beach cleanups and my Instagram posts and Facebook posts aren't gonna pop up. Is golden internet searchable?
I asked that question. I don't remember the answer to it. Zakia. If you put a link on your website, it definitely is.
But it is a place that people won't go on Instagram thinking, let me find out where to volunteer. But since Golden is just for volunteer events, people will go on there and say, let me see where I can volunteer, and then your stuff will pop up. So it's just a place where anybody in the world who is looking to volunteer will more likely come across your stuff than they would on social media.
Giving us some cool money as influencer. I feel like we're influencing.
No, we are paying them to make this tool for us.
They should probably be paying.
It's a tool that already exists that lots of companies are using. So it's a volunteer management platform for anybody volunteering.
Retention and recruitment of volunteers. And we're seeing that through the analytics and the stats. We're seeing it just keep going up. And we see lists of what chapters are really using it. And Golden in itself can be used as a recruitment tool. That's an easy way, like Liz was saying, like you have someone who maybe doesn't really want to be around a lot of people, but wants to help. You just provide, hey, you're going to be our Golden person. You just post our events on Golden. You just post our events. Like, here's a great example. The Jersey Shore chapter chair, who lived in Jersey Shore, relocated to Philadelphia, but he loves Surfrider still. He said, I can post all our events on Golden, because just send them to me. And that's what he does. He's still actively engaged, just post every opportunity through their Golden and just links it through their thing. That's one less thing they have to do. They're stoked. So you can look at it that way too, but you just have to provide them and have a list of what activities, or have someone say, we want to do beach cleanup. Here's a location, here's the date, here's the check-in, and they just post it up.
And he can live vicariously through his chapter's activities. It's beautiful. And the other cool thing, Golden, like with our butt pickups, we do like specifically just pick up thousands of butts. We have the same people coming back. We can track. And so at the end of the year, we can be like, Kurt, you removed 4,562 butts from the streets. And I haven't figured out what our superlative is going to be, like best butt grabber may or may not be PC, but we're going to have an award. So I'm open to feedback.
I had thoughts about this years ago because cigarette butts are really nasty, and little vacuum cleaners, battery powered, butt suckers, and have like
Butt suckers.
butt suckers.
It's going to sound really creepy, but I'm definitely going to wear a Ghostbusters costume when I do that. Marty.
I say that studies show that you need to contact people 3 times before it really sinks in. So I don't remember if that study is sort of personal contact, but it is 3. So we just need to remember that we need to keep at it.
Constant pressure, endlessly applied. This has been a great discussion. So we have 10 minutes roughly left in this session, right? Ish, maybe a little more. So everybody have their last offer ups and questions, and we can continue this discussion to yes. When do we know Hill Day? Do we know Hill Day?
We don't know yet. I think part of it's waiting for the congressional calendar, which we don't do in a timely manner. But it'll be end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah, generally February to early March, but until we get the congressional, Congress has to be in session, and they don't really post those until later in the year. So we try to block off that month and like encourage people to try to be not have other chapter conferences, or not, like we try to make it to where it's approachable for as many volunteers as possible. But until we get the exact date, but as soon as we know, usually we can finalize the date by late October, early November. It just depends. And next year is going to be the start of a new congressional session, so it's going to be it's going to be a little tough, but hopefully it'll be in person, and we'll let you know when we know.
And luckily we have Katie, who I feel like single-handedly creates order out of all of that Hill Day chaos. And I don't know how she does it. I would be a statistic for sure. So let's give Katie a round of applause for her. Huh? Yeah. All right. rather than, we're going to give you guys a longer break because I know we've like kind of cut some of the breaks short, but we have 3 activities that we would love to share with you as an option to take home with you, do with your ECs.
Your annual planning.
Shout out
annual planning.
All right, so step number 1 is this is an internal resource, is the volunteer matrix. Is it Portland is who created this? Shout out to Portland. So this is just a way for you to sort of map out the positions and roles and volunteer like needs that you have and sort of figure out, you know, like, all right, what are the skills, time commitments, things. So this is an internal resource to help guide you during your volunteer recruitment and training management process. All right, so we have this that is available. So you can download it. We'll also post this on all the resources on the Notion dashboard afterwards. So this is a way for you can, if you scan this, it'll pull up an editable version for you to use and fill out. So again, this is sort of make a copy of it. Cool. Make a copy of it. Don't destroy Portland's beautiful work. It's not theirs anymore. Whatever. Do this if you want it. It's a useful tool. All right. The other thing that is a good process that you can consider doing within your chapters is creating a volunteer sort of recruitment, onboarding, training flow chart, right? And so as we mentioned the volunteer ladder, like some of you are at different stages. Like some of you need to do more recruiting. Some of you might need to do less recruiting and more training or focus on reward. Oh, you guys are killing it rewarding. But so figure out where you are on that engagement ladder and where you should focus your efforts. Sketch out like, all right, what is the process from this step to this step? You know, are we emailing them? How often? Who's in charge? What is going on here? And just map it out visually. And then just like pick maybe 1 to 3 things that you could maybe do that might improve it a little bit. And just do 1 or 2 things. Take those few actions. I'm not asking you to redo your entire overhaul of your volunteer process, but this is a great way to sort of just identify potential gaps or areas for improvement. Plus, who doesn't love flowcharts? I'm very visual though. All right, and then the final thing is your volunteer menu. So like I said, I am happy to share this Canva template and you can do whatever the heck you want with it and make it useful to you. And if you have a need for other templates, I love playing on Canva. Obviously, it's fun. It makes pretty things. So if you have a specific request and you're like, I just don't have time, but I have this resource need, just let us know. I love making resources. So do that with it as you will. Post it wherever you want. I think that's it.